All right, good everybody. This is Emar Substitute. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Inquirer Show. We're recording on July 14th, 2021. On today's broadcast, we will break down all things Major League Baseball as far as the All-Star Game, which actually took place last night, but I have some opinions on the festivities that took place over the past few days in the Beanball edition of a portion of the show. We'll transition to the original free kick and go over all things professional soccer, including Atlanta United, the Euros, and even the Copa America. So we'll go over those topics, and then we'll transition to the miscellaneous department. Actually, no, we'll do the backdoor cut, and the backdoor cut will go over the NBA Finals, and as also we will go over Team USA as they prepare for the Olympics, and then the miscellaneous department. I will touch a little bit on the ESPN media drama. Look, we all like gossip. We all like when you combine gossip and sports and personalities and contracts. It's a very interesting things that goes on. So I will delve into that as well, and maybe some other thoughts on the world. As always, if you want to follow everything that we're doing, head to the mothership, the sportsinquirer.net, premier site for news and notes in the world of sports. You can also go to our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Just do a search for us under Sports Inquirer. That's all one word. And then finally, go to our audio and video content providers such as YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes under the Sports Inquirer. Yeah, glad that you are joining us for today's show as we go over things in the world. I have been following a lot of the baseball as far as the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Just some thoughts on what went on. I did not appreciate seeing the political ads during the All-Star Game yesterday about the game being in Colorado instead of Atlanta, Georgia. Maybe we have closer ties to it because we are based in Atlanta, Georgia, and we all know the story of the game being pulled and issues over voter rights and potential protest and guys not coming to the game. But I wanted to watch the ball game and see everything that was going on. I don't need to see those ads take place, and I'm not taking sides on it. If you're Democrat, Republican, there are issues on both sides. I mean, I have opinions on where I think, but both sides are wrong and have rights and wrongs in the argument. But the point is, I'm trying to watch a ball game. I don't need to see those political ads. So I thought that was not very nice. But the actual game itself, or the actual weekend festivities, I thought it went pretty well. I thought the media coverage of it. I liked you see the influx of the younger players coming into the game, and I think that was the big focus of it. We got Shohei Ohtani, and we'll get to Ohtani a little bit more depth a little bit later. But seeing Fernando Tatis Jr., seeing Vlad Guerrero Jr., would have loved to see Ronald Acuna in that spot, but unfortunately, him with tearing the ACL and being out for the season, he was unable, to be part of the festivities. But there is this young group of guys, and he's in his late 20s, but there is this group right now of guys, I'll say 25 and under, who are super special talents. And I thought that they were able to express themselves, and I think even during the commercials, or you saw the lead-ins, they were having fun, smiling. I think that era of the Bryce Harper angry baseball player, I think that doesn't work. But to see Tatis smiling and Vlad Guerrero being happy, Shohei Ohtani being happy, having energy in that way is so good for the game. Acuna has a little bit of an edge to him. I mean, all those guys do. But Acuna, even he has a little. He smiles a little bit and shows his teeth, and that was exciting. I always remember I was watching a special on Ken Griffey Jr. on MLB Network, and it was a clip from. They were profiling his career, and they showed an old clip from the '90s, and he was talking about how the reason that he's more popular than I think Barry Bonds, and I was trying to see whoever someone else that they were mentioning. He said because he smiles. And obviously, there's a lot more that goes into it than just smiling a lot. You have to back it up with a really good game, and as far as talent and production and marketing, a lot goes into it. But it does help if you have a guy who is smiling and is happy to be at the ball field. And I think you see that with those guys. that home run derby. I think the problem with the derby is even I get worn down by it. It's long and just the format of it, and they've cut it down. The way they now have like the brackets, and you don't have as much time to hit as many home runs. So, but it still is a long night. You're going from about 8:30 to Eastern, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time to about 11 o'clock, 11:30, and that's very tedious. Seeing so many home runs just keep going on and on and on. But I thought that the Ohtani and Soto matchup in the first round was very fun, and I thought that I think guys, you have Pete Alonso, the polar bear. He's built for that competition. He embraces it. You have guys who back out of it and didn't want to participate, but he's a very good player. He's an all-star caliber player for the Mets. So it's not like he's just it's like when you have the slam dunk contest in the NBA, where you have guys who play only 5 minutes a night and is a 12th man on the bench. They're not star players. Alonso is a star player, and he plays in New York, and he embraces the home run talent. So he's a two-time winner 2 years in a row. So he's a tremendous performer in that field. But I thought that was very good. And I was talking to a friend who doesn't like baseball at all, and she was watching it with their boyfriend, and she was really excited by it. And I was like, that's a good sign. And trust me, if you know this person, she does not like baseball at all. But the fact that she or her boyfriend wanted to watch it because he was into the sport, and she was watching along with him and actually liked it. Now, the home run derby is not a true indication of a baseball game, but the fact that you're getting some different eyes onto the sport through that derby is a good thing. Maybe herself and some other people became fans of Ohtani and Alonso and could follow them, or Soto, and follow them as they continue on through the rest of the season and their career. And that's what you want with this type of scenario. So I thought that the home run derby was done very well. I love the Ohtani story, and I get mad or disappointed with guys like Chris Russo and Brian Kenny. And I hate to say, you look at their demographic and their makeup, and it's not a racial thing. And we'll get to Stephen A, because he had a very interesting few days. Stephen A. Smith of ESPN with Ohtani and his comments on race. But I think that you have this generation of baseball media members, whether it's writers or those cases with Kenny and Russo, as far as TV. And trust me, I listen to Mad Dog Unleashed every other day. I'm on it. I support. I like Chris, but the fact that there's this narrative of he has to choose, well, two narratives that are annoying me with Ohtani. One, that he has to choose. He has to pitch only, or he only has to hit. Let him do both at the same time. Will he eventually have to choose one? I think so. Will it be as a hitter or a pitcher? I don't know the answer to that. But let us have this moment where you have a legitimate all-star caliber pitcher and hitter. On the hitting side, he's an MVP candidate, leads the league in home runs and I think RBIs. And you have a pitcher who is pitching at a very solid level and is not just a guy that you throw in for an inning just to get some outs. He is starting contests. He has a good strikeout ratio. And you have to appreciate a guy of this talent doing both of them at the same time. I think his emergence is a very good thing for the league. Now, for the international side, yes. But for a lot of other baseball players, I've dealt with this as far as a family member, well, to a less degree. What you get with a lot of these younger baseball players, and I've covered high school sports and worked at college, is a lot of these guys can hit and pitch. And they do it since they're in Pee Wee baseball or Little League baseball, in high school, even into college. Trust me, a lot of these guys, if he's a top level pitcher, he's probably a good athlete and can hit at a pretty solid level. But unfortunately, when you get to college or you get to the minor leagues, if you're drafted out of high school, they make you choose. You're going to be a hitter or you're going to be a thrower. And yes, you have to dedicate yourself to be the best athlete or baseball player you can. And I'll say 99.99% of people should make that choice and probably dedicate themselves to one of those things. But I think if you have a guy that can do both, let him ride it out, whether it is at a collegiate level and whether he, even if he's drafted out of high school and goes to the minor league level, let him try both. Now, if he's unable to do well in one of those facets, okay, you make that choice and you keep it moving. But that's where you're going to get more elite athletes wanting to play baseball and wanting to be a. It's all about multiple aptitudes and skills and versatility. That's why in football you see guys, they like to play offense and defense. In basketball you do that anyway. You're on the court, you're gonna do both sides of things. But baseball, I think you're gonna have a lot of these athletes are gonna say, hey, if I'm a good pitcher and I'm a good hitter and I can field, I could do it all. And I think that's gonna attract a good amount of good young players. And I think that the ability to throw and to hit will also attract multi-sport athletes into the game. Baseball has become, in a lot of sports, become so specialized with having to choose your path at such a young age. This could be an opportunity for a 14-year-old or a 16-year-old who wants to play basketball and baseball and football, and they should be playing different sports. But he can realize that, hey, I can, and I'm not saying she, because in softball, you see it a lot more often as far as pitchers hitting. It's not this big of an issue as it is in baseball. So I'm not forgetting the women athletes out there listening to this. It's just softball. This isn't as big of a topic or issue. It happens sometimes, but it's not as much as baseball. But I think Ohtani being successful as a hitter and a pitcher is going to attract a different level of athlete into the game of baseball, or keep guys involved in the game of baseball. And that's really what you want to see, because I'm sure a lot of those all-stars at some point on the fielders, there are pitchers at some point. And the pitchers, you'd be surprised of how many of these pitchers were really good high school hitters, and some of them even hit in college in some capacity. So I think that if you have to embrace that diversity of athleticism, and these people like Kenny and Russo wanting to limit a guy's athletic ability at this stage, it hurts more than it helps. So seeing him hit the home run derby, as far as Ohtani goes, and being able to play in the All-Star game as a hitter and a pitcher, that was very cool to see. I like that they were miking up the people on the field, like Tatis and Freddie Freeman. These guys are good personalities. They're not, stiffs. And I think being able now, they're not going to do this during the regular season game, and I wouldn't expect them to do that. But to be able to speak with them while they're on the field or even while they're batting, I think you show a little bit of their personality. So that's a good thing. I mean, Vlad Jr. is a guy who, maybe because he plays in Canada, he has the name because he's a son of a Hall of Famer. So we've been hearing about Vlad Jr. since he was a middle schooler. So that part's not a surprise. But that was a big stage for him, hitting the home run, being the youngest MVP ever and the second youngest player to hit a home run in the All-Star game. That was really a good moment to see him do that. And he's kind of had 3 careers in his short tenure. He's only 22 years old. But when he was drafted, it was all about career number 1. It was about him being the son of Vladimir Guerrero. We all know him, his father, Hall of Famer, all-time great. Played a good amount of his career in Montreal, made his name there. His son gets drafted by Toronto. So you have the Canadian connection, so it's the child prodigy coming into that Canadian market. Career number 2, he comes and he makes it to the majors, but he's inconsistent with his health physically, and he's talked about it, so I'm not going to speak out of term. He was heavy, he was not well conditioned, and he lacked some focus. This past off season, he gets a check. I guess he talks to his father and David Ortiz, against some of his mentors, and he gets into very good shape. He loses weight, he gets in better condition, and now he's vying for a triple crown. I mean, he's first or second in the AL in home runs, RBIs, and batting average. And for a Toronto team that is competing for a postseason spot. So he's had 3 careers really within the past 2-3 years of his life. But this is a very big moment for him, winning that MVP award. He's also become a better fielder, moving over to first base. So now he's solidified his position on the field. That was just a really good moment seeing him win the award. What I did, and this is what I'll end on this. 2 things. One, the tribute to Hank Aaron and having just the family on the field. Tremendous moment. You wish it was in Atlanta, but circumstances are what they are. But still, that was a very beautiful moment by Major League Baseball, paying tribute to the family of Hank Aaron. So that was really good. I did not like the uniforms. The one thing we like about the All-Star game, maybe because of the nostalgia in me, is I like seeing the player introductions because you get to see all the players from every team being a shout out to or giving respects to whatever franchise it is. So I was growing up as a Mets fan, so it's always good to see whoever was representing the Mets, whether it was Dwight Gooden, Darryl Strawberry. You go down the line, Gary Carter. As far as the 80s and the 90s, you transition to some different guys. So it was always nice to see your player on the field with your uniform on. So to see all those guys in those generic blue and white uniforms, and I know they had the different crest or logos, and they tried to do some different stuff, but I like seeing all the guys in their different uniforms on the field. It's a nice color visual to see that happen. So the fact that they weren't in the same uniforms, or they were in the same uniforms and didn't have their different ones for their different franchises, that was a little bit disappointing. So that's what I would have changed that part of it. But I thought overall it was a good experience for Major League Baseball, seeing those guys out there and making their presence felt. So we'll be keeping track of everything going on with baseball in the second half of the season, and there's a lot going on with a lot of franchises. Some that are surprises, like the Giants in the NL West, that are playing really well, to the jam-packed, maybe not for the best reasons, NL East, with the Mets leading that division, but you can make cases Atlanta, Philadelphia, even Florida, in Washington. I can see either of those teams making a run, maybe for the division, just the way things shake out. Obviously, you have the AL East with the Yankees. Will their struggles continue throughout the rest of the season? How does that shake out? Can the White Sox keep this momentum going through the rest of the second half? And then you have the West. Houston looks to be the class of that division. So there's a lot of intriguing storylines going on in baseball. You have Jacob deGrom, who might be putting together the best regular season in, I don't want to say in history because you have to go years and years, but maybe of this generation, the past 10, 15 years. Is he an MVP candidate? You have Guerrero, who I mentioned, being a Triple Crown threat. That's always an exciting thing to follow throughout a regular season. So baseball has a lot of good things going on for the second half of the year, and we'll be on top of that as that rolls along. Let's move on to the original free kick and things going on in the world of professional soccer. This is kind of a cleaning out the closet portion of the show because we've been off for about a week. So a lot of games and activities have taken place. So I'm referring to matches from July 7th and July 8th. I know in sports terms that was an eternity ago, but bear with me and we're going to go over these and then we'll get caught up for all things going on in the world of soccer. We'll start with Atlanta United. They earned a 2-2 draw at Nashville on July 8th. Some highlights from the contest: Anton walks. He scored his second goal of the season for Atlanta. Homegrown player Jackson Conway got his first MLS goal in just his third appearance with the team. And we're going to do a breakdown of those homegrowns in a moment. But here is manager Gabriel Heinze on the result for Atlanta.
Mire, estamos en un momento que nos pasa de todo.
We're like in a bad moment. Everything is happening to us.
El resultado es algo que no es analizable.
Like the result is something that right now we cannot analyze.
Que yo nunca exijo.
and I don't ask the player for a result.
Pero lo que hoy me han dado mis jugadores es una muestra de lo que uno le pide, ¿no?
What my players show me today is something that I've been asking them since we started.
Hubiera dicho lo mismo si el partido se perdía, porque la entrega y la lucha de estos chicos es algo muy bonito.
I would tell you the same even if we have lost the game, because what they put on the field today.
Me han demostrado nunca bajar los brazos.
They show me that they didn't put the hands down.
Me han demostrado valentía para jugar y con y sin balón.
They were not afraid to play with and without the ball.
En este momento que tuvimos el marcador atrás,
and even with the score, we were losing. Like in the moment that we were losing the game,
siguieron intentando y luchando.
They keep trying and fighting.
And Atlanta got off to a quick lead within the first few minutes. Matter of fact, in the 5th minute of the contest was that goal for walks. Marcelino Moreno won a free kick in Nashville's half, and Jake Mulroney was able to deliver a ball into the penalty area, and Walks was able to get his head on it and push the ball in net for Atlanta. It was Walks' 2nd goal of the season and 4th of his Atlanta career. That was also Jake Mulroney's 4th assist of the season for Atlanta, which is a team high. Here is Walks on the goal.
I wouldn't say it's just happened. I think I know the areas where the guys want to aim for, and it kind of came in an awkward position. But to be fair, me and Jake had one of those yesterday when we were just playing around, doing our own thing yesterday. So just spending time together, getting these relationships, things like that will work. So me and Jake will take the credit for that.
Now, starting for Atlanta at goalkeeper was Alec Kann, who was replacing Brad Guzan, who is with the United States national team as they are in the Gold Cup. And Alec made some very nice saves in the contest, including a diving stop on a Hani Mukhtar's shot in the 13th minute. However, Atlanta did concede a goal in the contest when Jalil Anibaba was able to get a header into past Can to make the score 1-1. And after a long stretch of no scoring that led into the second half, Mukhtar was able to put Nashville up 2-1 in the 49th minute when he converted a penalty kick. And that penalty kick was set up by a blatant and obvious handball by Cubo Torres, the Atlanta defender, in the penalty area during a Nashville corner kick. So the score was 2-1 and Atlanta was down. However, in the 59th minute, Atlanta was able to get the equalizer in the 59th minute with Conway's goal. Moreno was able to play a corner kick into the left side of the penalty area, and Conway was able to connect with his header into the towards the back post, and the ball went in, and that made the score 2-2. So as I mentioned, that was Conway's first goal for Atlanta United, and here are his thoughts on the goal itself.
Absolutely. No, that's one of Gabby's main things as a center forward is making that double movement. You pull that defender one way, and then next thing you know, you're off his shoulder. So no, that's something they've been telling me. That's something Joseph's been telling me. Just on the side, it's kind of an easy way to get away from the defender and kind of create that yard of space that you need. And it worked out. So definitely keep that in my locker for sure.
And here is manager Gabriel Heinze on that goal and seeing Conway on the field.
Bueno, lo he visto muy bien.
I saw him very well.
Que ha entendido lo que hemos entrenado.
He understood what we trained.
Y después como dije, una valentía y unas ganas, ¿no?, de ayudar al equipo.
He was not afraid to play and he wanted to help the team.
Lo había dicho que cada día estaba progresando más.
I told you guys that he was playing better and better with the team.
Y hoy lo ha demostrado.
Today he showed it on the field.
Pero lo más importante es los chicos que no venían jugando.
But the most important thing for me are the players who are not used to play.
Hoy jugaron como si estaban jugando hace mucho tiempo.
And they show like they have been playing with the group before.
Y para mí eso es algo muy importante en mi profesión. o lo que entiendo en el fútbol.
And for me, this what they did is something very important in my profession as a coach.
Para mí lo más importante es un grupo de jugadores
For me, the most important thing is the group of players
y no un individual de un jugador.
and not like I talk about individuals.
Now, Atlanta was reduced to 10 men in the 74th minute when Jake Mulroney was given a straight red card by referee Joe Dickerson when he challenged Randall Leal just outside of the penalty area. Now, that red card has since been rescinded, so Mulroney is not going to be suspended for the next contest against New England, but he did have to sit out the rest of the game. Nashville was not able to take advantage of that free kick opportunity. I mean, they got a nice shot on goal, but Can was able to tip the ball over the crossbar with a very athletic save. Can actually has 6 saves in this contest for Atlanta, and that was his first MLS appearance since May of 2018. Here is teammate Anton Walks on Can and his performance.
I said this from years ago about Alec. I think he's someone who's been great. Even when he played for the first 5 or 6 months before Brad arrived here, I think he showed his quality as one of the best in the league. And we're very fortunate enough to have him here. He's a great professional again. He's a great role model. And he just conducts himself in the right way. We've got great goalkeepers here, and he got his opportunity today and he deserved it because he showed what he was capable of and he done his job. So again, that's the type of characters we need in our team when things don't go our way and guys have to step in. And we're very blessed to have a guy like Alex here.
Yeah, and Atlanta continued to push the ball towards the net and try to get that third goal for the game winner, but were just unable to. Probably the best chance after Conway's goal came in the 90th minute when Brooke Lennon was able to make a run into the right side of the box, but his attempt was saved by Joe Willis, and that was the end of it for Atlanta scoring opportunities. So the score was 2-2. So Atlanta got another road draw on their docket. Big thing from the takeaway from the match to me was the homegrown players and their impact on the contest. The Mashop Chul, he made his first MLS start for Atlanta, and George Campbell came onto the field to replace Mo Adams in the 23rd minute. And Adams unfortunately sustained a leg injury in a hamstring, and he's going to be out several months. So that is a bad break or unfortunate situation for Atlanta. But George Campbell was able to enter the contest. And so Atlanta had 3 homegrowns on the field at the same time for the first time in franchise history, because Tyler Wolff was also on the field. So you had Shoal, Tyler Wolff, and George Campbell. When Conway was a substitute for Cubo Torres, there were 4 players of homegrown background for Atlanta on the field at the same time. So obviously that was the first time that had happened. So you had 4 homegrown players on the pitch at the same time for Atlanta. And here's what Jackson Conway had to say about the homegrowns being on the pitch at the same time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was like Academy United out there tonight. Even with Chal coming in and putting in a big shift matchup, he's been working really hard matchup to get in the side, and I think he deserves it. But yeah, I mean, it's great seeing guys that I've played with since I was 12 years old. With George Campbell coming on, I was super hyped. My parents texted me. His parents texted me after the game, so we're all pretty tight. But yeah, it's awesome. Seeing those guys that I've came through the academy with together, and especially Tyler. I mean, it's a tough spot to be in, starting 2 games back to back as an 18-year-old. So hats off to him, and yeah, he worked hard tonight. So very proud academy player, I'd say.
Yeah, so Atlanta's going to return to action on July 17th, this upcoming Saturday, at home against the New England Revolution, who are in first place in the Eastern Conference. We'll have a full preview of that contest on our next show. Atlanta United 2 was also in action over the past few days, which included a 1-1 home draw against Indy 11 on July 7th. Connor Stanley, he had his first goal of the season for Atlanta United 2 in that contest, which was a draw. Here is manager Jack Collison, manager of Atlanta United, on the draw itself.
No, these boys are gladiators. I'm just so proud of the way they're going about their business at the moment. Last two games coming from two goals down and one goal again tonight, they just never know when they're beaten. And I mean, unlike some teams in the league, we haven't got the luxury at the moment. Obviously, the first team are missing up to 10 players at times, which obviously has a knock-on effect on us. And I mean, tonight we've got 2 fit subs on the bench. So it's rolling out the same boys time and time again. We've got a 16-year-old who plays on the weekend, makes his debut, and he's asked to play again 3 days later against grown men. So when you talk about mentality and having to find a way to grow up really quick, I'm just so impressed with their character. Now, I mean, I'm sure there's ways we can play better. We've got a lot of work and a lot of improvements to come, but that mentality piece is sometimes the hardest piece to find, and I'm so impressed with them and what they're giving at the moment. And the greatest thing is, biggest challenge, we've got another game in 3 days' time, so it will really test them to see what we're made of.
Yeah, so Atlanta United 2 completed the first half with 12 total shots and held Indy to only 5. So they were doing a very solid job of getting their offense forward and limiting Indy's opportunities. Now, and Indy was able to take the lead 1-0, though, in the 64th minute when Nick Moon was able to gain possession of the ball, and he drove it into the final third of the penalty area, and he passed the ball to Jordan Hamilton, who had a one-time strike and made the score 1-0 in favor of Indianapolis. Atlanta was able to tie the contest in the 72nd minute when Caleb Wiley was able to pass a defender and go into the penalty area, and he found a streaking Connor Stanley into the penalty area, and Stanley was able to retrieve the ball, make a spin move, and push his right foot shot into the top corner to make the score 1-1. Here is Stanley on his goal.
Yeah, it's honestly meant everything to me. I've been, waiting for this goal to come, and I'm just happy that it's finally came. Yeah, I kind of needed that, I think. So I'm really happy, and happy, for the team as well to come away with the result from being obviously down 1-0 to get the point. So
yeah, and both teams were able to get scoring opportunities after that goal, but Rio Novo for Atlanta, the goalkeeper, made several big saves in the contest, including in the 88th minute when Nicky Law of Indy 11 had a wide open look towards net, but Rio Novo made a nice diving save with his left hand, and those things were big for Atlanta, keeping the 1-1 draw. Here is manager, and also I asked Coach Collison directly about this. The defensive back line was very disciplined. There are several times that the Indy was able to, they were passing the ball and got the ball into the penalty area, even shot the ball into the net, but there were offsides calls against Indianapolis during those sequences. So that showed a very disciplined back line for Atlanta in the contest. And I was able to ask Jack Collison about that defensive effort.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way we want to play. We want to be aggressive. We want to be on the front foot, and we want to be able to press high up. Now, it's not going to be able to happen if our back line's still in our back half. The pitch is too big, the spaces are too big, and we'll get cut open. And I think at times in the first half, we did get cut open, especially there was a few transition moments where it was a little bit worrying, but it was great to see the boys really have that steel and that mentality to get their blocks in, for Rocco to make big saves, and ultimately to try and keep the ball out the net as much as possible. And it's something we're going to continue to work on. I was really pleased with Bradley, especially tonight, in terms of his talking, his leadership, and the way he was organising others around him. And I'd love to take all the credit, but I must say Omar Jaroun, who's been my assistant, has been doing a fantastic job with his defenders, really trying to bring that mentality, that hard work, and that desire to just really defend our goal and try and stop shots going on it.
Yeah, and that also said a 1-1 draw for Atlanta against Indy. United 2 did fall at home to Kansas City 1-0 on July 10th. So we'll be keeping track of Atlanta United 2 as they progress through their season. right, let's go to the backdoor cut portion of the show and things going on in the world of professional basketball. I think we're seeing with the NBA Finals, not too many surprises, in my opinion. Both teams have held home court through the first 3 games. Phoenix were able to win their first 2 games, game 1 and 2. Milwaukee was able to get game 3. Giannis is playing very high level. Obviously 40 points and 10 rebounds in games 2 and 3. Only Shaquille O'Neal, I think, has done that in 2 consecutive games in the NBA Finals. So that's as elite as you can get. But I think you saw Milwaukee play a very desperate game on game 3. Because if you go down 0-3 in a series, especially at this level, at this stage of the season, it's going to be over. So I thought that Phoenix winning game 3 was not. Phoenix dropping game 3 and Milwaukee playing as well as it did in game 3 was not surprising. But I think game 4, this is a very big swing game for both franchises in this final. They had an extra day off, and I guess they had a tie-in maybe with baseball and just looked at the schedule and they said they didn't want to play a finals game during the home run. Well, they played Sunday night, and for game 3, they could have played last night and usually get a day off, so they should have played last night in game 4. But I guess they didn't want to play at the same time during the All-Star game, which is, I guess, smart on both parties. Don't want a conflict of All-Star game for baseball with the NBA Finals game. What it means is that you have a game 4 tonight with extra day of rest, another day in Milwaukee. I think both teams will be rested, ready to go. I think if you're Phoenix, you want to get more production from Devin Booker. He has had a inconsistent final, so you really want to get more production from him. If you're Milwaukee, Giannis, you got to figure another day he's played such a high level, but remember he's coming off of the hyperextended knee. Remember he injured it against Atlanta. We thought that was a torn knee ligament. He'd be out for a year or so. But he's been back on the court, so I'm sure an extra day of rest is beneficial to him. So I think, in essence, what it comes down to, Milwaukee, if they play their style of game, or if they play a certain style of play, if they go inside to the interior, they use Giannis, they shoot just in the paint, and then you get some decent outside shooting from Holiday and from Chris Middleton, just to get some jump shots going, I think they can win this series. But when they start shooting a lot of 3-pointers, focused on the perimeter only, when Brook Lopez, you have him shooting so many 3-pointers, I think they're not a good enough shooting team to play in that way. So I think if they play their style of game, they can make it very interesting. And then if you're Phoenix, I think that you're getting solid production from Chris Paul. As I said, Booker has been inconsistent by his standards in the finals. DeAndre Ayton, we've seen him have okay moments in the finals as well. As I said, I think it's still a very interesting series that can go many, many different ways. I picked Phoenix before the series started to win in 6. I'll stick with that, but I definitely can see this being a 2-2 series. I could definitely see Milwaukee winning tonight's contest, but I'm going to pick ultimately Phoenix to win this contest, and I'm picking Phoenix to win game 4. But I think that it can go either way. So we'll have analysis of that contest when we do our next show. I think Team USA, as far as the men's basketball team, losing those exhibition games to Nigeria and Australia just makes things interesting. If they beat those teams by 40, then we'll just look at this as, the United States is going to roll again, win another gold medal, and there's been lack of intrigue with it. Now, I'm not saying they're intentionally throwing these games. I think Team USA has some issues to work through, but I think this adds more intrigue. This is a good thing. Get some people talking and get some more interest in the games. Losing to Nigeria and Australia, I think what happened with those 2 games, you have a lot of these NBA players coming off of the playoffs, coming off of their regular seasons. You get together for 4 or 5 days, and a lot of them not played with each other before, and you got to play competitive basketball against a very physical and motivated Nigerian team, and then an Australian team that has a few NBA players and are very skilled and have experience playing together, you lose those two contests, but they're exhibitions. I'm not too concerned about it. And then you saw them play Argentina, which is probably the weakest of the three teams that they faced so far in the exhibitions. And the United States handled them pretty easily last night. It's going to be Kevin Durant driven. He's the main guy. He's the big dog on the team. He's got to play a big part. They do lack I think they lack guards. And I think if they get to they're trying to get three guys from the finals onto Team USA, and Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday from Milwaukee, and Devin Booker from from Phoenix. Now those guys are going to be gassed out by I think the time the finals end and then the Olympics begin. They may not be able to play in the Olympics because I'm looking at the mathematics of it. If the finals end, if it goes against 7 games, which it can, I think it takes them into the 21st of July. And I think our first game in the Olympics is the 23rd. So they got to fly from the United States all the way to Tokyo, Japan. Do they have to be isolated? Do they have to be in quarantine because of COVID-19 and the protocols? I don't know what's going on with that. If I was Team USA, I would look into some other guys that could maybe replace them on the roster. And not that they're not patriotic and they don't want to play, but you just look at the scheduling of it. I think it'd be very tough for those guys to be able to be in the Olympics. But those are guys that they need because you have Holiday, who's a guard who can pass the ball and a good ball handler, and you have 2 solid defenders. If the United States defends well and can get some better passing and ball distribution, I think they'll be all right if you look at the roster. So that's what they're lacking, and they have a lot of scoring. They have guys that can put up 30 on any given night, but they lack interior, and that's where I think a Middleton and Holiday to give you that defense, but they do lack a good post interior player that can not necessarily clog up the lane, but provide some conflict, some ways to not have someone just drive into the lane as easily. So I think they could use and I know they have Bam, who's I guess supposed to be that guy, but they could use another person in that regard. And I still think the United States should still be the favorite heading into the Olympics, but there's just a lot of different teams out there that are very competitive and can be very intriguing. And before the Olympics start, we'll do a full breakdown of some of the other teams out there that are looking to make their name and make their presence felt. But I said, I don't know if it should be like a worried sign that they lose exhibition games. I don't like Greg Popovich and his bullying attitude in these press conferences. I think his tone is very negative. And look, he's a Hall of Fame head coach. He's one of the best to ever do it. But I am tired of seeing the belligerent and bullying of Greg Popovich to the media. And it's just unnecessary. You would think he'd be above that, but he obviously is not. And I think he was disgraceful. Him talking to the media after that Nigeria game, and just being very condescending to very legitimate media questions. So that's why I see Popovich, I turn the TV. I don't want to give him the acknowledgement that I'm listening to him, or that the acknowledgement that I want to hear what he has to say. Unfortunately, I caught the clip of it, and I couldn't avoid it. But from now on, whenever he talks, I will change the channel and mute it and not listen to him, because his negativity is and bullying, and that's what it is. It is bullying, is very, very sad and unnecessary. So, but he's the head coach of the Team USA. They chose him. You have to deal with it, and that's how he's going to roll. And it has nothing to do with his skills as a head coach. As I said, he's a Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it, top 5 probably all time NBA coach. And I say that respectfully, and that's a very bold statement, but I can make a good argument for that. But just his approach to things, especially when it comes to media, I don't like seeing that at all. But we'll be keeping track of all that as we roll along. Oh, and then going on to Miscellaneous Department, Yeah, they missed me with the ESPN drama, the Maria Taylor and Rachel Nichols drama with Nichols being pulled from the NBA Finals to sideline because of her comments about Maria Taylor. By the way, those comments were made in a recording that she was unaware of, and ESPN took actions against her for that. If I'm Rachel Nichols, and she's not going to do it now because it's literally in the middle of the NBA Finals, I would pursue legal counsel and retribution against ESPN because if I was talking to, and she was talking to one of LeBron James' advisors, and about Maria Taylor and her placement in the finals, and as far and ESPN being fearful of not looking diversified enough and things like that. Here's my thing with that: if I'm in a private conversation with somebody and I'm unaware that is being recorded, you cannot use that against me in my place of employment. And that's what ESPN exactly what they did. They used that recording against Rachel Nichols and pulled her from coverage. And this is going to affect her status. It's going to affect her salary. All of those things. That is on legal grounds. I think she has a very solid case against it. Now, whether what she said was right or wrong, you can have that argument all day. I don't agree with what she said. I don't think it's right what she said. But on a legal side, I think this is business. This isn't, and I think people get crossed up when they look at the world and they let emotions get in the way of it and look at things from a cultural perspective or from a perspective of individuality and all that stuff. This is business. This is a corporation, and ESPN's a big corporation, and you're my place of employment, and you have altered my salary and my status within that company based on private recorded conversations I was unaware of. Legally, we have to pursue something, and I said it's not going to happen now. She's still on the jump. Her the show that she hosts on ESPN. So right now, nothing's gone on. And I'm not saying, I'm not crying for Rachel Nichols and everything like that. She'll be okay. Like I said, I'll be very intrigued to see if she goes that route with everything that's going on. And also with Maria Taylor, she's not innocent in this as well, because she's on the contract negotiation right now with ESPN to bump her salary by millions of dollars more. So I think that this is her taking advantage of that situation. Now, is that foul business? All is fair and love in contract negotiations. I don't know if you want to go that route, but she's playing her part, and I'm sure her representatives are using this to her advantage, whether she re-signs with ESPN or goes to another business entity. So I'm not saying that she shouldn't use this leverage, but it's leverage that is there, and the victimization angle is a very good ploy to use. Whether you're a black woman, a white man, or whatever position you're in, if you can use that to your advantage, that's something that can be done. So I think that the Rachel Nichols, that she is the devil and the worst thing, and she's the representation of all the hundreds of years of racial oppression that black women have gone through. Slow down with that. And then with Maria Taylor, she is the embodiment of the struggles that the black person, or especially in the media, has gone through, and she is supposed to be a representation of that and become a martyr for it. And take a deep breath on that one as well. Both sides have some truths to that, but then it's not as direct, or it's a pun in a way, but it's true. It's not black and white. There's a lot of gray area when it comes to these situations. So when you see all that stuff going on, try to take a breath and look at it from an objective perspective and go from there. And also with Stephen A. Smith, his comments about Shohei Ohtani, that's just ignorance on his part. And it does tie to salary as well. You see $10 million a year, $12 million. He's the highest paid employee as far as on-air talent at ESPN. With that comes a lot of microscope and attention on you. And he just should have been more knowledgeable of what he was talking about, saying that Major League Baseball would benefit if Ohtani was able to speak English and to do different things like that. All he had to do a quick internet search, Google, YouTube, whatever you do, Yahoo, and there's several instances, plenty of them, of Ohtani speaking English, whether it's to teammates or doing interviews. Yes, he has a translator, but it's not, he knows English. But to go with that stereotype of, oh, he's not from the United States, so he must not know English. That's just, and the thing with him, he says a lot of these statements, and it goes to the point where I think there's a lot of pressure on him, and I'm not saying woe is me for Stephen A. He's all right too, but every day he has to make a bombastic statement to get attention and to get the headlines, and on your Twitter feed or your whatever social media platform you use to get that headline. Stephen A. Smith says Devin Booker is just as good as Kobe Bryant, or Stephen A. Smith says that this player is greater than that guy, or he says A, B, and C. He's saying all of this stuff just to keep bringing attention onto himself and then ultimately to ESPN. He put a tweet out there about a week ago saying that he wakes up every day. His first thought is how he's going to make his bosses more money. It's not to give a prayer, to have a good day in life, or his first thought, about his family or friends, or his first thought is maybe about the things going on in the world. His first thought is to make money for his bosses. And when you have that mentality, whether right or wrong, that's going to lead you to, the way he makes money for ESPN, and I guess ultimately for himself, is to make these bold statements, and they come back to catch up with you sometimes. And the apology tour, I caught a few minutes of that on First Take. When he gets serious and he talks in a quieter tone and more in that way, please stop it with that. So should he be fired? No. Should he be suspended? Probably not. But this is, it's one of those things where you have to watch these people. They're actors, and I'll end on this. They are all actors. We all act in our own certain ways in our forms of work. But if you are a TV or radio personality on any of these networks, ESPN, Fox Sports, Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, your local news channel, they're all acting. We think of acting as like a movie or a TV show. Okay, you're given a script, you play character X, and you're gonna say these lines, and that's what we think of acting. We're supposed to look at these talking heads or these people on television and think, oh, they're giving their honest opinions and true perspectives. No, a lot of times they're not. They have producers, they have directors, they have bosses. And they'll say, these are topics we're talking about. You have opinion, you talking head A, you're going to have this opinion. Talking head B, you're going to have this opinion, and you're going to debate and argue it. And it's used in all forms. And then you have when you have to host your own show, you're saying these things, whether it's your Joy Reid, your Tucker Carlson's, Skip Bayless's. These producers are telling you what to say. Now you put your own spin on it. You could use your own words and put your own flavor on it. But you're told what to say and what not to say. And okay, we can go there with this topic. Okay, we can't go there necessarily with this topic. We have advertisers. We have sponsors. We don't want to make this politician mad. We don't want to make this athlete mad because they won't do an interview with us. It's all acting. And Stephen A., he's the top dog in sports doing it right now. But with that, you're going to have some, not pitfalls, but you're going to have a moment or two where you make a misstep, and he had one, and he'll be all right. But is it worth firing someone over or anything like that? No, but it does make you look at the environment, what would cause him to say that and go that direction. And that's a deeper analysis that we may have to make in sports. as far as the media goes. All right, that concludes today's show. Thanks for listening to us. As always, you can head to the mothership to sportsinquirer.net for all news and notes in the world of sports. You can also go to our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under Sports Inquirer. And then finally, subscribe to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and others under the Sports Inquirer. Until next time, good fight, good night, and be safe.